The weekend attack on Saudi Arabian refineries took out about half of their oil exports. That is about 5% of the world's oil production. President Donald Trump says it looks like Iran is to blame. Expert thinks that they could cause gas prices to jump 10 to 25 cents per gallon.
Here in Minnesota, they've risen 7 cents over the past 2 days, even though we don't get oil from the Middle East. So Sally from Edina asks, why do our prices go up anyway? Good question. Heather Brown found some answers at the University of Minnesota.
Here in Minnesota, almost all of the oil we use to make gas comes from North Dakota and the tar sands of Canada. But broaden that out to the entire U.S. and you'll find 86% of our oil comes from us.
Most of our oil now is domestic. That's a big change that's really happened in the last few years as we've discovered fracking in places like North Dakota.
The U.S. imports about 11% of its oil. We buy it from Canada, Mexico, Venezuela, Iraq, and a handful of other countries. Only 1% comes from Saudi Arabia.
So then if it doesn't have to come from so far, why is our gas prices going to be going up then?
Experts don't think there will be fuel shortages here in the U.S., but folks, you're going to see signs like that one start to tick up.
I have no clue why that would affect us here.
I think it's politics, but I'm a bit of a skeptic.
Why, if there's an attack in Saudi Arabia, would it affect our prices here?
Yeah. One of the key reasons is that oil markets are interconnected. So even though we don't get a whole lot from Saudi Arabia, other countries do.
Saudi Arabia is pretty dependent on the Asian market.
And so a country like China may be buying a lot from Saudi Arabia. Now that their supply has been taken down, now China has to go look for somewhere else. And they may go look for that supply where we're getting our oil from.
Which would drive up prices.
When there's supply, there's demand.
We got a lot of oil, we got a lot of gas.
We may be able to ride this out. We have enough kind of excess slack in the markets.
What about our reserves?
So apparently we have a lot of reserves.
This is a real kind of crisis-only source of oil. We've used this before in times of hurricanes. We're not yet at a crisis moment.
Earlier today, Saudi Arabia announced that they would recover from the attacks more quickly than they had expected. Well, that sent oil prices back down, but not to pre-attack levels. Heather Brown, WCCO 4 News.
Our expert tells Heather, even if we didn't import any oil from other countries, the U.S. would still be impacted by what happens on the international market.
He believes that will only stop when we stop using oil altogether. If you have a good question for Heather, just email it by going to WCCO.com/links.